For all you pet lovers out there and non-pet lovers that might want to become pet lovers, we're going to talk about pet rescue today. And I'm going to let the guests introduce themselves because we have three very nice guests. So please introduce yourself and what you do.
Well, I'd be delighted to, Karen. My name is Renik, and I'm an on-air radio personality and have been since 1968. So if you do the math, that's
Like Dick Biondy.
that's 50 years. And I intend to keep doing it until I get it right.
Dr. Diane Meyer, holistic dentist, and I would say emotion code expert wannabe.
I'm Mary Jo Martin, a consumer, animal lover,
And you're also the host of What's Happening at Caroline.
and
which is
also the
another
host
TV
of
show.
What's Happening
That's right.
in Caroline.
Okay, so we're here to talk mostly to you. We all have questions to ask you, and hopefully the audience will get all kinds of answers about pet rescue. I know nothing about it.
All right, well, you don't have to know a lot about it, Karen. And I'm not an expert in the pet rescue or pet care. My discipline has been radio, as I had mentioned, for 50 years. As a result of being on the air, I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of great people, and I've had an opportunity to be invited to participate in a lot of different projects. And as you can imagine, it becomes difficult when so many people come to you and say, listen, would you do this, would you do this, would you do this? And sometimes you have to say no, because the idea is either it doesn't vet well, no pun intended, or it's something you just don't trust. Well, about 4 years ago, I got involved with a fellow and his wife, Jim and Mary Ann, who created an organization called the All Pets Wellness Foundation. And that caught my interest. But I did get into it a little guarded because I didn't know them. They knew me from the radio and wanted me to get involved to help guide them, perhaps from a media perspective, of what they would need to do to further their mission of creating a totally new concept for veterinary care. So the All Pets Wellness Foundation was created as the umbrella organization. From that, they created a pro forma for developing All Pets Wellness Centers, taking a completely different look at how veterinary medicine is performed. The offshoot from that is, where do men and women and families get their animals? When you do get the animal, what do you do to provide for it? What do you do to care for it? What do you do when perhaps an illness strikes the companion animal? What if you don't have the money for it? What do you do? And as you can imagine, if you haven't already experienced it in your life, when you bring an animal into your family, it's a commitment. And a lot of folks don't know exactly what to do when something goes wrong. And often the animal can become the subject of miscare or no care. So the concept of the All Pets Wellness Foundation was, could somebody create an organization that takes care of the whole thing? The adoption process. How do you select the proper animal for adoption? Is it a dog? And if so, what type of dog? What's the care that that dog needs? are you prepared to care for it because that's what it needs? Over the years, we have done interviews on the show that was really interesting, looking at how pets have consumed the public. Let me just ask you, do you know, is there anybody in your life that doesn't have a pet or access to an animal?
I have some friends that don't, but my family, we all have pets.
But you have
And we
access
always
to
have.
people who
Yes.
have animals. And as you know, these animals become a part of the family.
Oh, by all
I
means.
mean, by every stretch of the imagination, they become a part of the family. We did a series of truckers and animal companions. Have you heard about that?
I've seen it on the road. You
Of
see,
course.
yes, it's wonderful. Good for them.
And they're not always dogs. They're not always cats. We've seen birds,
That's what I was going to say.
reptiles,
Okay.
Iguanas. I can see that.
iguanas. And when you think about it, Diane, and Mary Jo, when you think about that, that's a commitment. If a trucker chooses to bring a cold-blooded animal into his or her cab as a companion animal, that takes special care because they're cold-blooded. So they need care beyond what a dog would, but they have made that commitment. And the ones that we have seen, the iguana that we had been with when I was interviewing this trucker, was as affectionate
Oh, I know. I have
as a
one.
dog. I would go,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh, you know. Ooh. Not so. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. And consider this. A trucker with the companion animal is a safer driver. Their safety record improves
Why?
Because they have somebody
because
else
they
to
have
worry about.
They're
somebody to care
responsible
for.
for something they love.
The
That's one
safety,
thing.
now it's
Yeah.
not just me getting road rage
Exactly.
out because somebody cut me off. I have to worry about my companion animal and care for him or her. Their health is improved because now they have to make stops for their animal where they would normally have just driven through and perhaps
Sure.
not slept the way they should. It was totally fascinating just to hear how these animals have affected the business life of, for example, a trucker. So when a man or a woman chooses to bring an animal into his or her life or bring it into the family, there are a lot of considerations that need to be met, and most people don't give thought to that. For example, it may sound surprising, but one of the most popular pets today are snakes. Now you and I are going, ew, you know,
Oh, I
not
had
for this
one.
guy here, but they are very popular. Likely because they're easy to care for, and they can be, you know, they can be affectionate, and they can, you know, not for me, but they can be. People will tend to look and say, okay, I'm going to get Junior or Juniorette a snake because it's so cute. And for the first 2 or 3 days, you have a snake and you got the light on it and you got the kid or the kids, you know, looking at it and learning how to pet it, but they have to eat.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
If you don't know that before you choose to get this as a pet, that could be end of story. People don't
Yeah.
do due diligence when it comes time to
What is
determining.
it they do eat?
My-
Yeah, I have
It
no idea.
depends on the snake. It could be bugs, it could be rats, it could be
Oh,
mice.
I
it
had
could,
so many mice pets because my son would feed his snake, and my daughter would catch a glimpse of it. Mom, no!
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
And that could
yeah,
be.
so we had a lot of mice pets.
Yeah, but wouldn't that
I'm
be
like,
safe?
you have to feed that thing when she's not around.
That's right. And
You
if you're
know.
not prepared for that, that
Right.
may not be the right animal for your house. Later on in the show, Karen, we have a clip from a NBC meteorologist, Andy Avalos. Andy is a personal friend, and we did a whole series on Andy and his family. And he and his wife and daughter had made a conscious decision early on that before we choose to bring an animal into this family, we're going to have an agreement, or we're not going to have an animal in the family. And the agreement is this animal is a member of the Avalos family. That means we treat that animal as a family member. And by that they mean we don't board it. We don't leave on vacation and have somebody come in and take care of the animal. One of us will always be there. Now this may sound a little radical, and I even mentioned to Andy that, you know, to a casual observer, your philosophy is a bit weird.
Okay.
And that's what I told him. He said, yeah, you're right. He said, but let me tell you why we believe this. He said, because we bring love to the animal as much as the animal brings love to us, just like our family does. When that animal is in our home, it's a part of the family, and one of us will always be there. So when his wife and daughter would go on vacation, Andy would stay home with one of the animals. And then conversely, when he would go someplace with his daughter, she would stay home. His wife would stay home with the animal. And he would say, that's just a little bit radical. They got 4 dogs, 2 cats, and a parrot. He has a message for us at the end of the show that we'll share, that I think if people would listen to it and really give heed to what he says, we would avoid a lot of pet collisions down the road.
Pet collision,
Yes.
what does that mean?
Making a mistake by having the wrong animal in the house at the wrong time.
A lot of things are unforeseen, though. Like, I had gotten a Mastiff, and yes, they had in their genetic makeup the chance for seizures. Little did I know that this Mastiff that I had would seize every 5 minutes, every 3 weeks for the entire 3 days, like clockwork. And so we had to be hypervigilant, on call. My 4 children and I would have to take turns taking care of him. And after 8 months and $35,000 in vet bills, the vet's like, you've done enough. And there's, you know, and he would come back every time he would seize for that long. He wouldn't be like the same. You know what I mean?
I do.
It was taking its toll. So what would somebody have done if they hadn't had the resources? You know what I mean? That's an unforeseen. So I can appreciate
Exactly.
all the planning in the world, but it's just like a child being born autistic or something. There's some unforeseen technicalities and expenses and
Right.
hardships that come into play. So
Sure.
when you're thinking
With any
about
animal.
with any animal or child for that
And
matter.
think of some of the resources that were not available to you that now in retrospect, if you had had resource access, you might have had somebody to help counsel you on what are the options. And this is where my friend Jim and his wife Marianne, under the All Pets Wellness Foundation, created the idea that this would be a one place to go to, that you can get honest information, you can get support, you can get counseling. And what do you do if an animal perhaps has hip dysplasia? Are there surgeries available that are affordable that could sustain the life of that animal? And the answer is yes. The typical reaction is we have to have the dog put to sleep. After the surgery, are there restorative procedures available for therapy? Yeah, but how many people know that?
Right.
So I don't mean to imply or suggest that the veterinary community is underhanded and keeps relevant information from a client. Don't mean to imply that, but the fact is there are those who take advantage of emotions.
Oh, yes.
And when you are attached to a particular animal companion, are they or could they attack your emotions to get what the business is all about? More money.
And it's very costly to go to a veterinarian today, just for the shots and checkups. I mean, the prices are becoming pretty exorbitant, and the surgeries, and they're treating cancers and all different types
Yeah.
of
That's right.
diseases, because animals get the same diseases that
Yes.
are
They have
similar.
pet insurance now, don't they?
They do, and it's
Yeah.
it's a good thing for depending, you know. I just, but it's, you do love them. They are part of the family. I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like if you've ever had a pet, yes, because they love you unconditionally.
Yes.
And you're their whole life. We have the people we work with, the people we
Right.
socialize with, you know, other family members, but a pet in your home
That's right.
Well,
lives
then you
for
get a
you.
second pet, so they have somebody to talk to. And now they have the animal channels on where they can watch other of their peers.
Oh, it's so fun to watch a dog watch a dog. It is so fun. Yes, it is.
But that's hard too. Like if you have an older animal and you want to introduce a younger animal, and a lot of people do that because the time is coming close that you're, the probability is that you're going to lose this animal. So you're kind of, it's hard to introduce sometimes. It depends on the disposition of the animal and their personality. Like with children, some welcome a new companion, and others don't. So, and that's another learning process that you have to go through.
Right.
I think there's
To
a lot of
introduce-
variables.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no
There
doubt
are.
about it. But wouldn't it be cool if you had a place to go to as a resource that you could get honest information
Oh,
and
yes.
consulting? And when that time does come, and only you, as the companion's closest
Relative.
partner, relative, if you had a place to go to help through the bereavement process, and looking at counselors, where the performer for the foundation is to have all of these elements together, where we don't know what the situation is. Like you said, it's an unforeseen thing, Diane, but wouldn't it be good if you had a place you could go to trust, that you could get good information and know that what support you're getting is going to be the most trustworthy information that you can get, and not have to tap on your emotions. And that's what this All Pets Wellness Foundation is all about. So when I heard about this, I told Jim, I said, I'm here. You know, I'm not a vet. I just know what I like. I know that I care for animals. My fondest memory is of the animals that I had as a kid.
Sure.
You know, and just to give you a little story here, the dog that I had as a teenager was Queenie, a toy collie. And Queenie and I were inseparable. We were inseparable. Did everything together. And I got drafted. In 1968, I got drafted. I went to basic training. I went to advanced individual training. And when I came home on leave, I could not get near Queenie. I couldn't get near her. She would bark and snap and turned on me. And there are many theories about why that is, but I've never forgotten that. And that was just a terrible thing for me.
Well, I don't know. My father used to always say that every dog is a one-man dog, but no one knows who the man is.
Yeah, it could be.
Could happen.
Was it because
Maybe
I
she was
abandoned him? I abandoned her?
yeah.
I was gone?
Yeah.
Was it the uniform? I don't know. I'll never
Yeah,
know.
you don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll
'Cause
tell you, that
usually
tore
they
me up.
remember especially that you were so close for all those years. That's something that
Yes.
you're sent,
Yes.
they would
So what did
never
you do
forget.
about that?
Well, I was at the I was in the Army, so I went back into the service, and by that time, Queenie had passed away. But the point though is that stays with me. But why? Why did that happen? Was it something I did?
I don't know,
You
my friend, her son's
No.
dog has attacked her twice now for no reason. And she feeds that dog when her son's out of town and everything. And she just was putting up Christmas decorations and he went down to get something and the dog turned on her. So who knows?
Yeah, yeah, and you don't. But that's the whole reason how I got involved in this. Senior rescues, adoptions. So many people shy away from the notion of, well, that's an old dog. That's 13 years old or 14 years old. And Jim and his wife Marianne have a whole life of adopting senior animals for the love that they bring and what they give in return to the animal who is at the twilight of its life, that they can give back to the animal who has given so much to families before them.
Okay, we're getting ready to roll some of your film that you brought, some of your video. So just tell us quickly what the first one is about.
Okay, the first one is Tom Dreesen. Tom Dreesen, stand-up comedian from Harvey, Illinois, came to fame as the first biracial comedy group in the 60s. He and Tim Reed formed the first black and white comedy stand-up duo. So Tim Reed went on to WKRP in Cincinnati. Tom Dreesen hosted the Tonight Show tens and tens and tens of times. He was a guest on there like 80 times.
Okay, so what's this one about?
And he also was the stand-up, he was the opening act for Frank Sinatra. So I interviewed him about a year and a half ago, and he had a story similar to mine about a dog that grew up in the family called Babe. So this is that story.
Okay, so we're going to watch this video now and see what's going on about Babe.
Probably, as a stand-up comedian, the greatest laughs that I could ever hope to get would be from my children. I love making them laugh. I used to do the silliest things just to make those kids laugh, you know. And with the dog, with Baby, I could do bits off the dog, pretending they were, you know, that I didn't know they were watching me, you know. And hearing them laugh, you know. But Baby protected that backyard. She had a doggy door. And if she heard, like I said earlier, if she heard the slightest thing, she was out there. You don't know how, this is another subject, but how safe that made me feel, knowing when I was on the road, that dog was there, watching my family. You know, and when I was home, in the middle of the night, my ex-wife used to hear things, I think someone's out there. If there was something out there, that dog's ears shot up and she bolted and would protect. That was her territory to protect. So how much did she do for me? I mean, she just was an amazing animal. But I used to say to the kids, I'd say to the dog something, I'd say, Baby, check the backyard and see if there's any Nazis out there. Go out there and see if there's any. She'd run out in the backyard. And the kids say, Dad, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I said, it's dumb? Have we ever found one Nazi in our backyard? Answer that question. No, I said, I rest my case. Well, they were little then, you know. Now, as grown-ups, they laugh about that. Said, my dad trained Baby to keep the Nazis out of our backyard. And of course, their friends will say, you had Nazis in your backyard? Well, we don't know, because Baby chased them out of there all the time, you know. So it was the fun we had.
Babe looks like my Max. I had a German Shepherd, and her name was Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom still keeps a photograph of Baby on his desk with that note that how important an animal can be to a family. Yeah. Yeah, and throughout the show here, Karon, we had some photographs that you can take a look at, and they speak for themselves. You don't have to set them up. You just take a look at the face of the animal. You take a look at the face of the human, and you know there's love there. You know, an unconditional. And how many people can say that?
Right.
Well,
That's
obviously
true.
you all grew up with animals.
And I don't think you did.
No, I
You've
didn't.
never had a pet?
No, for a very short time I did, before I gave it away to a little girl that whose father said that he was an insurance agent. He came over and he said, "Where did you get that dog? My daughters love it." I said, "That's your daughter's dog." And he came back and said, "Thank you very much. That dog had heartworm. It cost me $5,000 to get it cured." I said, "Okay." My husband brought it home. I didn't have it but a day. I was at a brand new house and I wasn't prepared to take care of a dog. And I worked a lot, and so did he. So there was going to be nobody there. So anyway, the little girl enjoyed the dog.
There you go.
That's
So there's
great.
there's a warm end to a
Yeah.
potentially not so good story, but yeah. But the dog was lucky, and so were you, by identifying that disconnect up front.
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we have another video that we have to show really quick because we're going to be running out of time. So
Okay, well, we don't want to do that. And I had mentioned that Andy Avalos is an NBC meteorologist, and this is what he had to say.
well, let's put it on because I don't want to run out of time.
It's the Avalos family. Andy, what message do you have for those who are thinking about bringing an animal into their lives before they really understand what that commitment is?
I think that we'd all be unanimous in the comment that know what you're getting into. You know, people want companionship and they think, well, a dog would be great, a cat would be great, might even be a bird. But know that it's a commitment that's equal to having a child. It really is, especially if you're a devoted caregiver to your pets. If you're going to have them, know that there will be hours of training involved. You will be taking them out in the dead of winter when they have to go to the bathroom, and in the heat of summer and when the mosquitoes are out, they get sick, they have to go to the hospital, they have to be treated. The cost of food, the cost of medication, the time involved is huge. And so don't ever take the decision to get a pet into your family lightly. Think long and hard about it. And then when you have, and you've made the decision that no matter what comes up, you're willing to make the concessions necessary, only then do you jump over that line and say, okay, where's my new family member?
And I think that those are the words that I think we should all kind of keep in the back of our minds and even share with the children who maybe are, as baby boomers, you got grandkids coming in there with the idea of having a pet. Keep that in mind. My wife, by the way, Barbara, she loves rabbits. And
Oh man, I made the
in-
mistake of buying my niece's rabbits one Easter,
yeah.
and they got so big that they were walking around with
Yeah.
the cage on their back,
Yeah, that's right.
and they do cause a problem.
They can, but you need to know that. You need to know what the animal
Before-
is
yeah.
before you bring it into your home. And unfortunately, some parents say, oh, it's Easter, I'm going to get a rabbit, or I'm going to get little chicks.
Yeah, that's sad.
What a terrible, terrible thing to do to the animal.
It certainly is.
But again, it's thinking it through. Think it through before you make the decision.
Well, who knows? I mean, I didn't know. I went and I should have got mini ones to begin with, and I didn't because I didn't
Dwarf
know.
bunnies,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, they really go to the bathroom a lot. So
I noticed.
where
yeah.
do you put them?
Yeah. But then I look back and I said, you know what? I go to the bathroom a lot too. So
Not like they do. So where do you put them? Do you keep them in a cage, or what
yeah,
do you do?
it's,
A
she's in a
rabbit
cage.
cage is special because you can, undo the drawer and just
And
dump
they
it.
can be trained.
Yep.
We have the rabbit in a
amazing.
mudroom
He's
in an
trained.
open cage where it's not confined. But it was interesting, we have a carpet that she will not go off of. So she runs around, but it was because the first time she got off the carpet, it was linoleum,
It was
and
cold.
it looked like one of those cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she couldn't get her out.
And
That's
that was the
wonderful.
awakening for the rabbit to say, don't go on that linoleum.
Right.
So she's totally trained and comfortable and has
So
the
you only have
rein-
one?
One left,
Okay,
yes.
because I got them too. But I want to thank you for joining us, and let's let people know very quickly where they can contact this group.
It's the All Pets Wellness Foundation.org. And all of the information that you could possibly need is right there, including some free seminars that we have coming up.
You could tell you have a radio voice, there's no doubt about
Right,
that.
yeah.
Yes, he certainly
absolutely.
does.
And you know what? I did radio for a while for somebody I filled in. Radio is harder than television, in my opinion. I don't know why, but it is.
But you don't need makeup.
Well, that's
There
true.
you go.
That's true, but it is more difficult. I don't know why, but it seems like, to keep talking on your own like that. I mean, I know you have guests, and I've been a guest on radio too, but as being the host, I found it much more difficult.
There you go. And we also have a talk radio show called Now and Then Talk Radio, and we have a website, nowandthentalkradio.com.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, we don't know what he means by that, but if you listen in to Now and Then, you'll find out. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And welcome your new pets. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.